Yo, it is finally here. It's finally here. Welcome back. If you recall, a few months ago, I made a press release reaction video to the news of the Grand Seiko SLGA007 Minamo being announced. And today, I'm so excited to actually show you the real piece in the metal. And I've seen a good handful of these prototypes since Watch Time and GS9 Club in New York here. But man, nothing beats seeing the real deal. And yes, I am referring to this piece as the Minamo, not the Lake Suwa, because if you recall, there was another spring drive piece launched this year that also resembles Lake Suwa, except in winter, aka the Omiwatari SBGY007. So to not confuse these two pieces, SLGA007 Minamo and SBGY007 Omiwatari. And yes, today I'm wearing glasses and I'm also wearing this nice Patek Philippe Tiffany blue sweater, limited edition. Just kidding. All right, we're only here to talk about Grand Seiko. Let's just get into it. Okay, so first things first, why is this watch so special? Why is it being so hyped up? Well, it's what the fans want. It's a Grand Seiko automatic spring drive with the power reserve on the case back for starters, and it's the first time Grand Seiko has ever released something like this. It's been hinted at once early in 2020, and I'm sure that it was supposed to launch last year during Grand Seiko's 60th anniversary, but the pandemic happened, and I'm sure that actually probably delayed the final production of this piece. So now this ended up being released this year in 2021, and that means that there is one extra piece of this limited edition out there. Now on the wrist, it fits exactly like the SLGA005 white birch, since it does use that same Series 9 case design, 9 being a number in Japanese that represents the highest. And my 6.4-inch wrist can handle the 40mm case size well. The dimensions on this watch are incredible. It's a 40mm case, thickness of 11.8 millimeters. Considering the fact that it has a 5-day power reserve, that's actually super impressive, because I know dive watches with like 48 hours that are like 15 millimeters of thickness. Also, it has a lug-to-lug of 47.6 millimeters, so that watch is going to fit really nice and centered on the wrist, and the bracelet is just going to droop straight down and follow straight through. If you haven't seen the Series 9 case before, it has a very nice and gentle sloping down onto the wrist, so it doesn't wear like a chunk of metal, but it's actually very elegantly tapered. The bezel itself has a lot of character, the top part of the bezel being brushed satin finished, and then blending into Zeratsu finishing, and then going into the case you have a more mix of brush and Zeratsu finishing. And the sides of the case does have drilled lug holes, so if you want to switch out straps, it should be really easy. Most of the chunkiness from the watch can be felt by the sturdy 22mm bracelet, which may seem large for a 40mm case, but according to Grand Seiko, the wider bracelet and low center of gravity of the Series 9 case helps create high stability on the wrist. For those of you who like brush finish, this is your calling, because the whole bracelet is brushed flat link style, and it just slightly tapers to 20mm on the folding clasp, and at the folding clasp there is a gold Grand Seiko logo. The gold Grand Seiko logo actually represents the increased accuracy on this 9R spring drive. Instead of giving it 1 second a day accuracy, it gives it to half a second a day. And like most heritage model, the Minamo has a screw down crown, giving it a mighty 10-bar water resistance, which is just great for daily wear. As we go into the dial, you can see the texture is the same depiction of Lake Suwa as the Omiwatari, but now in a rich, deep blue color. There's a minute track which leaves the center dial nice and clean with just the applied hour markers, text, and date window at 3 o'clock, featuring the number nice and clear with the beautiful border, which helps continue that symmetry with the hour markers. Each hour marker is multifaceted and Zeratsu finish and applied, creating some depth in the dial. And the hour hand is wide and tapers with a single granulated line. The wide hour hand is actually a little visual trick that allows you to read time quicker, since it's very distinguishable from the long, slender minute hand, which just barely touches the minute track. On top, like a cherry, is a gold perfect sweeping seconds hand, creating a nice combination of gold and blue, which creates symmetry with the GS applied logo under 12 o'clock. The gold logo is a visual representation echoing the morning sunrise shimmering on Lake Suwa's surface, while the text above 6 o'clock in white creating a cool color tone. I actually appreciate that Grand Seiko has descriptive reasons why they choose certain color palettes or dials for their watches, because it creates imagery in what medium they are communicating in the watch design. The most beautiful thing about the dial to me is when you bring it into different light sources. That's when you see the rich blue dial really pop and come alive, and that shiny blue texture almost looks like waves in the lake. And while the texture is definitely resembling Lake Suwa outside of the Seiko Epson factory where all the 9R spring drive and 9F quartz watches are assembled, the dial color tones does remind me of the SLGA007 Shoe Moon Seasons collection and the Whirlpool SLGA267. Although you can see that aside from that blue and gold color, that's pretty much where the similarities completely end. I like that when you go into different lighting, the dial can actually look very muted and like a cool blue, and then when you get in that perfect vibrant blue, it just like pops right out of the dial. And also from certain angles, the textures are very subtle, but then of course when you have it in a strong light, then you can really see that rich texture over the dial. Now flip the Minamo over and there is a sapphire caseback with a faint line emblem to not block the view of the beautiful new 9R-A2 spring drive movement. Like mentioned earlier, it is a 5-day power reserve with spring drive indicator on the back and is accurate to half a second per day or roughly 10 seconds per month, while normal spring drives are accurate to 1 second a day, 15 seconds per month. And the 9R-A2 is an incredible movement because it contains dual-size barrels, one large and one small, and Grand Seiko Marie Kondoed it into the movement arrangement, which is unique design to Grand Seiko. And the purpose of the dual-size barrels is to wind and unwind simultaneously for energy efficiency. Holding that together is a one-piece center bridge that enhances the shock resistance, further improves energy efficiency, and actually requires high precision to create and assemble. Finishing the movement is a beautiful Shinshu frost finish with blue screws and jewels expressing the night sky, which is different from the traditional Tokyo stripes finish. Now just looking at the detail on the power reserve indicator, you can actually see that that fan-shaped symbol is still in the same arrangement where when it's filled up it goes downwards, but you can actually see that the fan area is all Zaratsu finish, so it creates some beautiful contrast on the movement. Now the winding action on the crown is super smooth and you'll definitely be cranking that crown to fill up that massive 5-day power reserve. The power reserve indicator on the dial of the standard 9R65 movements never bothered me anyways because I think it's just such a unique feature of spring drive, but I gotta admit that if I had to choose if it was on the front or the back, I'd definitely just choose it to be on the back because now it just looks like a standard mechanical watch, but it's packing all this advanced movement underneath the hood. Overall, the Minamo SLGA007 is a limited edition of 2,021 pieces worldwide, and it's definitely going to be sold out everywhere. At $8,700, it's an incredible piece for the price, and it puts the retail price just $400 under the White Birch SLGA005, which is at $9,100. I bet that if people had to choose between spring drive or high beat, I guarantee most people getting into Grand Seiko would definitely choose spring drive first. And over the years, I've heard so many people saying, well, I would only buy a Grand Seiko if they put the power reserve on the back. Well, look, Grand Seiko went and done it. And it wasn't easy. They had to completely construct a new movement and went out of their way to also increase the power reserve from 3 to 5 days. So all of these added to this new movement. The big picture to take away is that now that they've achieved this milestone, we should expect in the future more pieces in the pipeline with the 9R-A2 spring drive power reserve on the back. And people have been also saying that Grand Seiko has been going upmarket in their pricing, and that's definitely true in the sense when you look at the Series 9 design pieces such as the White Birch or Minamo. But keep in mind, Grand Seiko is still launching stuff in the standard price points of between $3,000 to $7,000 in a wide range of quartz, mechanical, and spring drive. Think of these Series 9 more of an upgrade to things like the Snowflake that we know and love. And look, the bottom line is, if you have a chance to get it, and you love it, don't even bother asking if you should get it. You should just get it. It's an incredible piece. In the meantime, this has to be one of my favorite limited editions that Grand Seiko has ever released. Not only is it a different dial texture, but it's in the new Series 9 case and that new movement. I mean, it's just like singing to me here. Now, our store, Carnico, is an authorized retailer for Grand Seiko, so if you have any questions on this piece or other Grand Seiko pieces, please send us an email over at sales@carrotco.com. I also have other videos on Grand Seiko on my channel here, and also other watches that we carry in our store. So if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel so you can check those out. Now, like this video if you love the Minamo just like I do, and leave your comments or questions below. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. It's been a minute. Happy holidays, Happy New Year, and I can't wait to see you all soon. Bye bye.